Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of Talmbout Rasslin right here on the Black Phoenix Network. I am your host, the untouchable J.R. Atkins, and this is your primary destination for wrestling conversation. So, I goofed last week, right? As you probably saw. Made a boo-boo. Recorded the whole episode. The mic went out, like I said, 3 minutes into it. But this time I'm charged up. Okay? Everything's charged. Everything's in place. It's tested. And if this happens again, I'm just going to post this part of it. And then I'll do something at the end and be like, hey, screw it up again. Could you believe that? But that shouldn't happen. Okay? Shouldn't happen this time. As a result, what may happen is my lights. But we'll see how it goes. As a result, what I'm going to do this time is a bit of a longer episode to make up for last week, because there are things that I talked about last week, and then since it didn't come through, now I have to talk about it this week because it actually plays into things that are happening this weekend. For anyone that knows, this weekend obviously is another one of those big wrestling weekends that seem to be a thing now, particularly because WWE wants to counter program AEW because they some bitches. Sorry. But so WWE is running the WrestlePalooza paper PLE. The PLE. Sorry. WWE is running their WrestlePalooza PLE. At first, it was head to head with AEW. AEW made what I think is the right decision, and has moved All Out this weekend, because this weekend is All Out in Toronto. Moved All Out to 2:00 in the afternoon here in Central Time. So they, in theory, should not hit. They should not clash. So that's a thing. But that's what's happening this weekend. So obviously, really big weekend as far as wrestling goes. Of course, this will be the first PLE on the ESPN app, because that was supposed to start with WrestleMania next year, but somehow I guess ESPN was like, no, we need one for September. So then WrestlePalooza. And they just had to pick this weekend because, that's the weekend. Yeah, whatever. Trying to act like they didn't do their due diligence and it just so happened to be on the same weekend as All Out is bananas. The way that they try to simultaneously act like AEW doesn't exist and isn't competition while trying to compete with them is insane. It's a level of gaslighting that only can happen in this country. Well, you know what? Maybe not, because, well, that's an entirely different thing. But apparently, I'm going to have to do like a political podcast at some point. But that's neither here nor there. But this week, we're going to talk about a few things. We're actually going to get into, I obviously have tried not to do this for the last few weeks, but because there's so much news regarding them, I'm going to have to talk some WWE stuff. And actually, some of it's going to be even positive. So if you can believe that, for me, Mr. Paid AEW Shield, that's what it's going to be. So first and foremost, before we even get into all of that, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with me. I know last week was a bit of a goof, but since then I've still done all the other content. I've been a little late because my schedule's been kind of crazy. But I still get out Manifesto Mondays, and you can catch up on those. This Monday coming up will be the season finale of Manifesto Mondays, because it's kind of a mini-series kind of thing. There will be season 2, 3, 4. I'll continue going, but right now we're doing these in season. So this will be the season finale this coming Monday for Manifesto Mondays. What's Up Wednesdays, where I have articles. Still going. I just did those. If you check those out, thank you for that as well. The last couple have been a little maybe controversial. I get it. But if you're here, you know I'm controversial anyway. And if you don't, you will, right? There's that. So if you checked any of that out, thank you for that. Also, if you've been tuning in to talk about wrestling all this time, thank you for that. We're gonna continue going. This one will be up in time, believe it or not. Again, this week has just been a little crazy, but saying that to say, um, again, so thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of this movement. Thank you for helping me grow. Again, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends. Leave a comment. Leaving a comment helps a lot. I need a lot more engagement. I thank you all for watching, but I need some engagement. Leave comments, any thoughts you have, any suggestions, any conversation you'd like to have. If you agree. Again, I want to grow this platform as much as possible. So if we can do that, again, a lot of that comes from having that engagement with you all. That comes from leaving the comments, and again, sharing, telling your friends, sending them here. Tell anybody, again, I want to do interviews. If you'd like to be a co-host on the podcast, I'm cool with that too. I would love to talk wrestling with some people. Whether you are a fan that likes everything, whether you're a WWE guy, whether you're an AEW guy, whatever, like, hey, I love wrestling. So if you want to co-host on the show, fine with that too. Or a special guest, whatever you want to call it, fine with that too. So make sure, hit me up. Again, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, leave some comments, all of the above, right? Because again, I want to grow for you. So moving along. So we're going to talk about something. It's been a crazy, at this point, 2 weeks in wrestling because I didn't really get to talk about it from last week. I did pretty much more of a Dynamite review last week. And I did talk about some WWE stuff, but the same stuff I'm going to talk about now. But as far as the Dynamite reviews, weekly TV has been what Dynamite is. They've progressed a lot of those stories really well. I am very much looking forward to this card, but it's because it's an AEW card, and they don't miss. They do not miss very rarely. So I will, at the end, once we talk about all this WWE stuff, I will just give my predictions to All Out. And I'll probably cover whatever happened over the last couple of weeks on Dynamite and Collision. I'll cover that as I do the predictions. So we'll do it like that. But first, we're going to cover some WWE stuff, particularly NXT, because NXT this week had their NXT Homecoming show. I didn't watch because even though, like I said, I'm covering it, but at this point, the only avenue I have for watching current WWE product is Netflix and YouTube clips. So take that for what it's worth. But I did tune into the highlights of NXT through the YouTube clips. And they were back in Full Sail, which, of course, is hollowed halls for AEW. I'm sorry, for NXT. Again, I don't have opinions on the show overall because I didn't watch. But there were things I wanted to see because for a long time, before AEW was a thing, okay, NXT was the hottest thing in wrestling, period. If you're a real wrestling fan, they're mainstream wise, Raw, SmackDown were generally trash. They couldn't get out of their own way. The booking was Vince was just a train wreck, right? But Triple H in NXT was cooking because at some point he had this concept of, hey, I'm gonna make this the WWE ROH basically. So the matches were killing. He still had a little bit of that WWE thing in there. It was great. It was almost like a perfect mismatch of those two concepts of indie wrestling and the WWE system, so to speak, or WWE presentation. Perfect. Takeovers were A1. Takeovers were like some of the greatest wrestling shows that you could see at the time, right? Which influences his WWE booking because these new WWE PLEs, the 5 or 6 match PLEs that he's doing now, is really just I won't say a callback, but that's inspired by those NXT takeover cards, because those cards weren't but 5 or 6 matches. So he's trying to get back into that. WWE PLEs typically have always ran at least 7 or 8 matches, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of these seem short because there aren't that many matches on there. But that's because of the NXT format, takeover format. So them going back to Full Sail, they really packed in like a lot of the history of NXT, or at least like some of the heavy hitters, whether it made sense or not. But it was cool to have those pops, like some of the matches, some of the people they brought back, some of the things that happened. Really called to more of, again, just the history of what NXT was. If you know anything about me thus far, love a callback. I'm a sucker for nostalgia. I'm a sucker for Easter eggs, and I am a sucker for a callback. They did a few of the things that I hoped they would do. The stage setup, I wanted to look more like the original Golden Black NXT. Didn't necessarily, but it wasn't like a big deal, because it wasn't like the original NXT setup was like something groundbreaking or whatever. So I mean, it was fine. It wasn't like even noticeable or anything like that. But they did, again, from the clips I've seen, whole lot of nostalgia pops to a time when that product was on fire, or even times that it maybe not even was that much on fire. But it always, again, that period of time, maybe I'd say like from 2014 to the moment AEW showed up. Honestly, yeah, just being real. And I'd even go so far as to say, even past that, it still was on fire for a minute, maybe until COVID. And then coming out of COVID is kind of when they changed everything to like 2.0 and all that kind of stuff happened. But it was on fire for years. So of course, like what I thought would have been the main event, they had DIY versus Trick and Mello, Carmelo Hayes, which Trick and Mello pick up the win over DIY. Having DIY come out to their original themes, Johnny Gargano with This Rebel Heart, Tommaso Ciampa with his No One Will Survive. Hits a little different now that he doesn't have the beard, but still epic moments, right? Trick and Carmelo coming out, doing that, both of them having their moment. Carmelo getting way more shine than he gets on main roster. Of course, only to have the Miz come out and help, which, whatever. I guess that advances the SmackDown stuff, so go figure, whatever. But that was a cool moment, again, because Carmelo actually is. It made sense for him to get the win there because he's not getting them on main. They're not doing anything with them on main except having them tag around with the Miz. So whatever. The opening segment made a lot of sense. Triple H comes out, of course, gives his address, because you couldn't do Homecoming without Triple H, right? Then you have Shawn Michaels come out, and they kind of do this tease thing, of what's going on. And Shawn's like, yeah, y'all did great in your era. Me and my era, we're ready to take this ball and roll and run with it. Triple H goes, well, what if I told you I wanted to come back? Which leads to William Regal coming out, and he did the thing. The only one way to sell this, War Games, right? He did the thing. And I don't know what this means. I don't know what this means, because are we doing the like black and gold NXT versus new era NXT, Triple H's NXT versus Shawn's NXT? And obviously, looking at that, it probably be Shawn's NXT will go over. There's plenty to pull from there. If you're going to do that, there are plenty of people on main roster who aren't doing a damn thing that you could pull into that. That would kind of make sense. Maybe some of these people that they brought back tonight, I don't know. Because some of those heavy hitters are gone. There's an entire era, an undisputed era, of NXT that is no longer in the company. So it kind of went, but you got enough. You got enough. You got, so again, other things that kind of happened throughout. Now, of course, Charlotte and Alexa came out and they were defending the women's tag titles against the Culling. So they came out and cut a promo about the women's division. Shayna made an appearance. Shayna Baszler made an appearance. They did a backstage segment with Bobby Roode and Joe Hendry, which is like still kind of mine. Listen, let me tell you something. I hadn't talked about this on here, I don't think. Every time I see this, I cannot not say this. The WWE TNA partnership blows my mind. Completely blows my mind. I can't, it blows my mind, and I was around for this. It blows my mind more than the WCW integration, or especially the ECW. ECW has always kind of been somewhere in WWE lore. That's not crazy. And even with WCW, it's like, well, yeah, you're integrating it. It's like a WWE version of WCW. It's not like real WCW. Even though you got WCW people there, it wasn't like real WCW. Knowing what TNA was, to see it, to survive this long, and then now kind of become partnered with WWE is mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Can't wrap my head around it. And never will. I don't think I ever will. They have AJ Styles, like they've done AJ Styles videos or other videos where like now they can include TNA footage, which is important for people like AJ because AJ's the bulk of his career, or at least it seems, was in TNA. He was Mr. TNA. They have AJ Styles TNA I guess sprite, if you want to call it that. I don't even know what render in the new WWE 2K25 with his Get Ready to Fly thing. Now, the entrance is just his regular entrance. It didn't go that far. But still, that is mind-boggling. So, Bobby Roode, Joe Hendry, Joe Hendry is a TNA guy, at least I thought he was, because the way Bobby Roode was talking, he was actually in NXT, which I don't know. He's going to be there. If he's not there now, he's going to be there. He's been there the last few weeks anyway, so I'm pretty sure he's coming. Trick Williams is still the TNA champion. And it's just a thing now. It's not like, Bobby Roode didn't do much, but of course he did the glorious, one of the best NXT things ever. I'm going to do several. I may have to sprinkle them like through in some different weeks. I'm going to do several theme song podcasts where I break down the top themes for certain places. I'm working on a WCW one. There's definitely going to be an NXT one, because the NXT had some really great things, and that is one of the top. But anyway, and the thing about that is, a lot of people that they brought back came back to their. I gotta stop hitting the mic. Came back to their original NXT themes, which is great. Speaking of Finn Balor, now this gets into that thing where I said like people that came out that didn't really make sense for what they did, or for the nostalgia pop, whatever. Because like Finn comes out to, of course, the classic thing. He does the classic entrance, and like, but the thing he gets involved in is something with like Lexis King, Miles Bourne, and it's like he's kind of doing this babyface thing. But you wouldn't expect him to do heel stuff because he was a heel in NXT, but it still didn't work. Not for real. Like when he was a heel in NXT, he was just a badass, and that is what actually I think what got us to where we are now with Judgment Day Finn. But seeing that makes you realize how much they are wasting Finn in Judgment Day. I'm sorry. So over. Their entrance so over. That thing. So whatever, like this heel Finn is cool. If we ever and it doesn't even have to be Demon Finn. Just that Finn, NXT Finn, would be lit. NXT Finn with the tights, not the pants. The thing, that thing. Give me that. Judgment Day is cool, whatever. But give me that. Give me that every day, all day. Whatever. All right, whatever. Bianca was supposed to be there. They did not. I didn't see any clips of Bianca, so I don't know if she actually did anything or not. Which y'all know how I feel about Bianca. Anyway, you could have had the Profits. They're former NXT Tag Team Champions. I will say, for what they did, it was cool. There's a lot that they left on the table. You could have had Seth Rollins. You could have had Becky Lynch on this show. You want Papa Raiden? Definitely could have had them on the show. Seth is the first NXT champion. You could have had Big E, second NXT champion. A lot of people you left off that show. But I get it, right? You wanted to blend the two, and maybe it was too crowded. I don't know. I think what was the main event was Rhea, Lyra, Valkyria, who was replacing Tiffany Stratton, who was injured or not cleared. I won't say she was injured; she just wasn't cleared. And Stephanie Velcro, as Naomi likes to say, versus the Toxic Attraction, Fatal Attraction, yeah, Jacy Jane and them. Yeah, that happened. Of course, they didn't come out to any newer things. I think Rhea's video package may have been more similar to her original one. It didn't look the same as the one that we see on TV all the time. I don't think. I could be wrong. So that was also cool. I feel like I'm missing somebody or something. Defend Bobby Roode. I feel like I'm missing somebody. Let me know in the comments if I miss somebody. But those are cool. Again, as somebody who's a sucker for nostalgia, sucker for Easter egg, sucker for a callback, love that. Love Tyler Breeze. That's what I forgot. Tyler Breeze had a match with Ethan Page. Sami Zayn was there, hyping up Javon Evans. It was pretty cool. It was a good show. Well, I won't say a good show because again, I didn't watch the whole show. From the clips I've seen, hits. There were things I felt like they could have done. Damian Priest was there. He did something with the guy whose name I'm not even gonna try to act like I remember right now. So again, good usage of people. They integrated people all over the place there. So turned out pretty good. I am a sucker for that. And apparently out of this, they're getting ready to do maybe like a WWE TNA invasion or something type angle / PLE or something. Again, okay, can't even fathom. Cannot even fathom that. Will they do an invasion pay-per-view? They've done one. It's a WWE IP. They've done it with the WWF versus WCW and ECW invasion. Would they do a NXT TNA invasion? Maybe. Would that? I don't think that would be the War Games match. Though they could. I think that whatever this is leads to TNA getting their title back. So, Trick has to lose their title to like Mike Santana. Really gonna stop smacking the mic. Has to get the title back. Has to. So there's that. Moving on though. Cheers to you, NXT. I probably won't be tuning in next week, but well, you know what? No, because next week they're doing Obafemi versus Trick, winner takes all. So even though I'm saying like Trick has to lose that title to Mike Santana, hell, he might lose it to Obafemi. And then what? Okay. So I don't even know what's happening here. So moving along. Um, as I mentioned tonight will be WWE WrestlePalooza. I will not be watching this show. Listen, it doesn't even have anything to do with how I feel about WWE these days. It's more about I'm not doing the ESPN thing. I'm not gonna even worry myself with that. Um, there's nothing on the show that I need to see. There's not much in WWE period these days that I feel like I need to see. Cena versus Lesnar, I've seen it. I've seen it when it mattered. I saw it before in like the early 2000s. I saw it when Brock first came back. I saw it when Brock squashed him. And there probably was another match that I can't recall. Nothing I need to see now. It's fine. It's fine. They're not going to do anything different. I can't imagine. And if there is anything of note, I'll see it in the clips. Punk and AJ Lee versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. I'm actually very happy that AJ is back. One of the things I talked about last week that I didn't get to mention, that obviously I didn't get to put out there, it's very cool that AJ is back. Well, I think that I mentioned it last week. Oh, we talked about it before. But AJ Lee is definitely, I might have mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. I may have already covered this, but AJ Lee was ahead of her time as a diva. And one of the hot takes I've seen, which I completely agree with, and I don't know if I've ever made it publicly, but I completely agree with this. AJ Lee is what WWE likes to pretend that Nikki Bella is. And that's no shade to Nikki Bella or Brie or whatever, because they were very influential for that time, but for a completely different reason. Like the Total Divas thing brought a lot of female fans to WWE. That is without question. Girl I was dating at the time was in the Total Divas. I don't know if that is actually what got her into wrestling, but I know that was a pathway. So I know if that was a thing, there are plenty who were also, they may not know, a lot of the lore or the legacy, but they know Total Divas. And if you know Total Divas, then you're gonna watch. That'll lead you to the ring. So, but that's the Bellas. AJ, as far as like with women's wrestling, she inspired a lot of the people who we see now, and never got a chance to mix it up with them because by the time she was leaving, everybody else was starting to come in. So now there's this great opportunity to finally have her mix it up with Becky, with Charlotte, Alexa, like that, the entire women's division. Okay, because these are all new people than who was there when she was there. The only person that was probably there was Natty, because Natty's just been there forever and she's not going anywhere. But everybody else is new. So, um, Dream Match Factory there, right? And the only thing there is, I wonder will it be like a Paige situation where Paige came back, and I don't know if it's because maybe she was rusty because she hadn't been in the ring in years, or if women's wrestling had come so far that what she does isn't as um, special as it was in that era. You know, uh, Paige, Paige is like before Charlotte. I want to say actually that's exactly how they went. Paige was the women's champion, Diva, yeah, the women's champion in NXT, and then Charlotte. Um, once Paige had to relinquish it. So is she kind of in the style that's like not necessarily outdated, but has come way further than it was back then? That's kind of how it came off in AEW. So I wonder if AJ Lee going to be a victim of that. That like her style now is, but it's WWE. It might be completely different because they move a lot different than how it would look in AEW. So that's a thing too. But I'm glad she's back. That being said, no interest in seeing her team up with her husband because her husband sucks. You know why how I feel about Punk. So go figure. I don't even Drew versus Cody. Yeah. And I listen, I have some thoughts about Cody and Punk, some comments they've been making, but all that I will say is that snake's gonna snake. I'll leave it at that. A snake is gonna snake. Period. Moving along. Yeah, so WrestlePalooza is happening. The fact that they announced this card to compete to counter program AEW makes me even that much more uninterested in it. And the way this company moves makes me completely uninterested in the company and this PLE going forward. Right? Because we can move forward with this. The CEO, and I read this last week, and I'm not going to go find it and look it up now, but the point, because you may have seen it by now. If not, I'll tell you. The TKO, like CEO or COO or something, made these comments a couple of weeks ago about how Vince was pricing tickets for families, and TKO sees that they can maximize their profits, so they're going to keep raising the prices. They say this out loud like it's supposed to make people feel better about paying more. Is that the goal here? Like, hey, we're going to charge you more for these tickets, and we're going to raise our prices. Like, and here's the thing: people these days, again, I don't have to do a political podcast. People these days have this weird thing of wanting to be fleeced. Like, yeah, things cost more, but yeah, like, of course it does. Yeah, they're gonna charge what they. It's a business. I don't care that it's a business. Okay. Once you're pricing me out, I have no interest in trying to. Like, I'm one of them people. Like, I'm not going, especially for a product that's very hit or miss at best. The experience can be cool, but not really. And again, the better experiences that I've had have been AEW shows. The crowd hits different, especially when I'm out of town. Now, I'll be honest, when you come to Memphis, AEW in Memphis, as much as I want them to keep coming back, AEW in Memphis is very hit or miss every time, every time. And I hate that we, as a city, can't figure that out. Maybe that support thing, because as a city, we're love to be fleeced. So of course, when WWE comes, we get into you can't spend whatever. Anyway, WWE is raising ticket prices. They're going to continue raising ticket prices. They're going to continue pricing out fans and families. Because that statement alone basically says, hey, you can't, if you got a family, prepare to come out of pocket. It's easy for me because 9 times out of 10, when I go to a wrestling show, I'm going by myself. So I only have to pay for one ticket. But I can only imagine what it's like if you got a family of 3, 4, 5, and you got to buy tickets for everybody. And now these nosebleeds cost what the floor seats used to cost, $300-$400. This last SmackDown that came to Memphis, I didn't go because I looked at the ticket prices and I said, this is bananas. And in my head, I'm like, and I think I've gone to my last WWE event probably. I in my head was looking at New Orleans next year and thinking, okay, maybe I'll do that. And then they doubled back to Vegas instead. And you would think, okay, well, maybe, when they come back to New Orleans, I would do that. Well, they're not. And I'll tell you why they're not. Now, apparently the make good is supposed to be they're going for Money in the Bank instead. Money in the Bank ain't WrestleMania. Point blank period. Okay? It ain't. Ain't even close. Ain't even close. They're trying to make that like a big thing now, like they with all of the PLEs, but it's not. It's not a big thing. Now, my thought was, well, I'll come back to this. So, me thinking, okay, well, what's the make good? Well, at least to the next thing. In 2027, it has been announced that WWE is going to Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, for WrestleMania 43. Now, listen, I'm going to be honest here. I never really watched any of the Saudi shows. And to be honest, it wasn't even the moral aspect of it, which kind of sucked. But I'm not gonna act like I'm something like, because I know it could be hypocritical if I were to try to draw this comparison to this comparison and this and the other, you know. But it was more for me that they just didn't seem consequential. Like nothing happened on those shows necessary, even when they were title matches or anything. Like at a certain point, it just turned into like these are just they feel like vanity shows. And then like the diva, like I love again, little callback, love alternate things and that nature. So to see the women, as much as the idea that women have to cover themselves from head from neck down and all of that, yes, they have made progress, but that's still crazy that they have to do that. But I do love to see the creativity that comes with what they decide to wear in place of what they would normally wear. I do enjoy that, but it it doesn't change that it's weird, right? Um, so them going to Saudi is a strange thing for me. Now, what I actually you thought was going to happen with them coming with WrestlePalooza, I said, oh, they're going to try to build this as the new WrestleMania. Not so much the new WrestleMania, because the report had been Saudi wanted, a WrestleMania level event. So in the way that they did maybe like the greatest Royal Rumble, then maybe they would do something like that with WrestleMania, Super WrestleMania, or whatever. And it probably would have been WrestlePalooza in place of WrestleMania. And then Saudi was like, no, we want a WrestleMania. And so they bought a WrestleMania, basically. And so now that's what we got. Go figure, right? Um, I mean, it was only a matter of time. They're getting WrestleMania. They're getting the Royal Rumble next year, so of course they will have a Mania in 2027. But the question now becomes: so now where do we go from here, right? The profit margin, because now with that, there's so much that leaves so many questions and so many like things from there. These two announcements, the tickets thing, the tickets comment, and this new Saudi WrestleMania deal opens up the conversation of, they only care about the bag. They do the idea of, oh, we're not pricing for families, we're trying to maximize our profits. Pretty much saying the thing, and then coming behind and being like, okay, Saudi's gonna give us a bag to bring WrestleMania. Screw my yeah. It shows that they only care about the money now. It's a TKO thing. Vince isn't running it. This isn't a family thing anymore. He doesn't. None of that matters. They only care about the bag. And if you only care about the bag, then we're gonna go where the bag is. And that being said, it's where I kind of get, I guess, questionable, um, because you push New Orleans out of the way, so they're not getting their Mania that you promised them. Indy was on the books for one, right? Um, Nashville was rumored to have one because they got their new stadium being built. I think I've even seen like an actual announcement that they were planning, not just bidding on one, that there was promised one already. They were promised one already. If I'm not mistaken, probably the 2027 one. So there are 3 cities now that have been promised the Mania. So unless your plan is that for the next 3 years, or the next years after that, I knew my life was going out. If for the next few years after that, and this one is probably right behind it, that for the next few years after that, that you're going to then go to those cities. But then what's to say that Saudi won't just buy another Mania? Well, who's to say Saudi won't just say, no, we want all the WrestleManias now? And if the bag is big enough, why wouldn't WWE do it? Because Saudi has endless money. Endless money. So why wouldn't they? I could absolutely see that happening. And it's sad to say, but it's the truth, right? So we're in a very interesting space of what's going to happen there, as far as uh, the just that entire aspect of things goes. Um, and so then that puts another question that's kind of been coming out now. It's like, okay, so well, if WWE's if WrestleMania is going to be in Saudi in 2027, and they're making this declaration that ticket prices are going to keep going up because they can and they need to. This feels like a prime opportunity for AEW to really place itself in the fan experience position, right? Because a lot of news now has been, people clamoring like, hey, AEW should do a show WrestleMania weekend in New Orleans or something, a big show, because there won't be a big show in the US. And as much as I love AEW, and as much as I think that would be kind of cool, I know the opportunity is there. I think that would be a bad idea because, listen, WrestleMania is still WrestleMania. And people will not be put off. I don't think people are as put off about the Saudi thing as they have been prior. Especially people who are now fans of WWE. And again, I know this is what we're talking about, but there is absolutely a political part here where this plays in, because there's a certain type of, it's just a thing. I'm not even going to get into what the thing is, but it's a thing. So people aren't like, it's not even about WWE diehards now. And we're back. Sorry. So I get it that the opportunity is there, that it feels like this is the chance for AEW to come in and do something different, do something, to take advantage and say, hey, we're the moral, we're here for the fact. There'll be it's a big opportunity. I don't know if that's the move. Now, I do think them doing a show in New Orleans would be huge. A big stadium show in New Orleans. I don't know if they would do Mercedes, but somewhere. I think there's space. I do think there's space to do that somewhere, and to be like the converging point of wrestling in the way that WrestleMania clearly won't be that year. Because you got to think again, there are companies who are going to suffer. Other companies who are going to suffer by that because they're not going to Saudi. They can't afford to. So like the indies who usually run WrestleMania weekends are going to suffer from that. And again, there's going to be a ripple effect. Absolutely. So it's kind of like, well, you hate to see it, but that's what it's going to be. I think the opportunity is absolutely there for AEW to do something special. I don't know if I think they should. I think that it's going to. I don't say it's going to backfire. I just don't think it's the move that you would think it would be. So I don't know. I would love to see it, and I would absolutely go, but I don't know. Again, I just don't know if that's the move going forward. So, grain of salt me, right? Grain of salt. Speaking of AEW, this weekend is also All Out in Toronto, Canada, and that is the show that I will be watching. Now, as I mentioned earlier, they moved the show up to it starts now at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, which, listen, I went to All In, like I mentioned all the time, went to All In Texas, best wrestling experience I've ever had. Going early and being able to get out like in the middle of the day or in the evening, I guess, is fantastic. I absolutely recommend it. AEW, especially how long AEW's pay-per-views are. I'm absolutely okay with them running that early. They're running at 2. AEW pay-per-views usually run 4 hours. 5 if it's a really big one. I don't think there's anything on this card that causes that. And it doesn't feel like a super long card like they usually are, but we'll see. AEW is good for making sure that everybody gets time. There's not a lot of like bullshit, short matches. So maybe it'll be that. Is what I'm anticipating, I guess. But that being the thing, I think it should be over by 6. WrestlePalooza starts at 6, so I don't think there's going to be a lot of crossover. So we'll see how that goes. The build up. There's been a lot of discourse here lately about the card for All Out and it not being a stacked card or something, which is crazy to me because I'm like, what? Again, and I think people are thinking that under the idea of what WWE is doing on their end. And it's like it's almost like people are thinking like, well, you got to book a better card to go up against this WWE. Listen, we booking the card we were gonna book before, and we're booking the card we can book because if you don't know, Kenny didn't hurt, but Kenny's out. Kenny Omega's out. Swerve's out, hurt. Will Ospreay's out, hurt. Orange Cassidy is he might be better, but he's not back yet. So we're booking the card we can book with the people we got, and it's a you know it's a tough card. I think it's a good card. I don't even know what the issue is, other than people trying to compare it to what WWE is going to do, and it's always like, well, I don't care. Like again, it's crazy. Again, how people think that you're supposed to let a WWE bully and dictate what you do. And I feel like if you know rap beefs, a lot of times that is where you go wrong. If you do one thing, I take Ja Rule and 50 Cent, perfect example. 50 Cent came onto the scene, started dissing Ja Rule, dissed everything that he was doing, made fun of it, and Ja gets out of character and decides, no, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna rap it, beef it, and then nobody bought it, and he never was the same. Same thing here. So it's almost like they expect AEW to be Ja Rule and be like, no, I'm gonna stop what I'm doing. I'm gonna book differently because we booking against WWE. It's not gonna matter. It's not going to matter. There are people who watch. There are people who watch both, but a lot of wrestling fans have fallen into one category or the other, and you're not going to convert either of those. It's more likely in a lot of ways that there are going to be a lot of AEW converts because of what WWE is doing, because they've made their product so difficult to get to by spreading it over so many different places, and now it's so expensive to try to catch everything. And the fact that the ticket prices are going up. Tony Khan made a statement about making sure their prices stay family friendly, and I think that is a genius idea because there's always been that as WWE prices continue to rise, there's absolutely the space for AEW to remain the family friendly product, or at least ticket product. Now, some of their content can be a little edgy, especially for this particular time and space in the world that we're in. But listen, people brought their kids to the Attitude Era shows, and AEW shows are nothing like those. Like the most offensive thing probably is MJF cursing and Tony Storm being very racy. Risque is even a better word. There's a lot of sex. She's the most sexual character in AEW. Whereas with WWE and the Attitude Era, it was a lot more of that, and kids were there. That's why so many people were getting suspended for saying "suck it." So go figure. So I'm not sure. Getting back to the subject, I'm not sure what people expected from this card, other than them trying to book their card against what WWE's on. WWE came. It's almost like they came into my house expecting me to do something different, and people expect me to do something different because they came into my house. No, we're going to run what we run. Now, I'm not entirely sure in some of these decisions though, because the card's booked, but the way it's formatted, I'm kind of curious about. It came out that WWE is opening WrestlePalooza with Brock Lesnar versus John Cena. And my thought process was, of course they would, because there's a chance that if AEW runs long or runs into the time that WrestlePalooza would start, you're going to have that thing of like, do you stay with whatever main event AEW runs, or do you switch over to see John Cena versus Brock Lesnar? There are people who are like, and again, I know people think, oh, they're the WWE fans and the John Cena fans and whoever else. Like, it's John Cena's last match against Brock. We have seen this match a million times. What do you think they're going to? John Cena's probably going to win, which maybe it won't be the first, but that'll be a thing. And then what? Like, so I don't understand what's so special about that, other than I don't know what special they can do. The build has been mid, whatever. Which makes me wonder what is the main event here? Is it Seth and Becky versus Punk and AJ, or is it Drew versus Cody? It probably should be Drew versus Cody. And I can tell by the way that they're doing this that the main event doesn't matter. AEW will be long off the air by the time the main event comes along. So the main event actually doesn't even matter to them. Because this is the biggest match really on the card. So throwing that at the beginning is absolutely a kind of programming move. That being said, on the AEW side of things, they've revealed that Cope and Cage versus FTR is going to open All Out. Which I thought that would have been the main event. But I guess in the same way that maybe John Cena and Brock Lesnar would have been the main event. So Mama's wondering, like, why wouldn't you have put those two head to head? I don't really understand that, because I'm like, okay, so I guess Hangman versus Kyle Fletcher is going to main event, and that's questionable because, listen, I think that match is going to slap. And maybe it's a vote of confidence in your champion and championship to put it last. And kind of just be like, well, let the chips fall where they may. But I don't know. That decision is curious to me. So we'll see how it turns out. But I'll get into these predictions, and I'll get into pretty much what's going on in AEW as a whole. So speaking of what, since we just mentioned it, we're going to start with Cope and Christian versus FTR. Again, the opening match of the night. They're definitely winning. That actually influences my entire prediction. Had it been in the main event, there may have been like a 70-30 chance that they were actually losing. Maybe not even the main event, but, well, you know what? Maybe not. Anywhere else in the card. Because truth be told, I don't actually, on one hand, I thought it was the main event. On the other, I was like, but maybe it's the semi-main. I don't know. They're definitely winning. Hands down, they're winning. Especially to open the card in Toronto. That crowd is going to blow from the jump. So that one speaks for itself. The build has been what it needed to be, basically. Nothing like to write home about, but just seeing Cope and Cage back together, even though they haven't hit like a rhythm of being like a team, as far as like presentation or anything, it's still like there's Cope and there's kind of Christian still being Christian, the asshole that he's kind of being. So that hasn't hit a certain stride yet. I could see them winning the tag team championships at some point. Because I don't think these two matches is the end. But we'll see where it goes from here. It doesn't look like it, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I'm gonna save these last. I'm gonna save the championship match and the coffin match for the end, and I'll move on. The women's world championship: Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter versus Statlander versus Tekla. Gonna be another slapper. I'm expecting Toni to come out of this with the dub. Um, I think I think this isn't the way that you would have somebody win a championship from someone as, I would say, dominant as Toni. Um, like there's a way to do. I feel like whoever beats her needs to beat her 1-on-1, and it be decisive. So in a match where she doesn't even have to be pinned, I feel like that'd be kind of cheap, especially considering like what Toni's thing has kind of been like. Oh, I'm a woman in search of her murder. Basically, she's looking for some. She's kind of calling out the division. Who's going to be the one? I need someone to beat me, to stop me. Who's going to be it? Um, so I absolutely think she comes out of this uh, with the championship. I don't know who beats her though. The division is stacked. I do not know who actually beats her for the championship. It could be Stat because she's never won it, and I think if there were anyone else in this match who could win, it could be Stat. But well, no, that's not true. I'm saying that now because I'm just saying it. But they're pushing Tekla to the moon, right? But maybe it's too soon for her. I'm not really sure yet. So maybe Stat deserves it, but it doesn't feel like she's actually getting pushed towards that direction right now. So maybe not that either. So I'm sticking with Toni. I don't see who's going to be the one to take that off of her just yet. There are plenty of options. I'm just not sure which one is the one. Um, I think in some of these one-on-one matches, whatever comes after this in her one-on-one matches, I uh, I wouldn't be shocked if anybody going for. Actually, truth be told, I still think it's Mercedes. Actually, that she gets another shot and she takes it eventually. But I don't think that happens while she has all these other titles. Whatever this story, this version of Mercedes is, I still stand on. She won't win the AEW Women's Championship until she loses all the other titles. So that won't exist with all the other belts. So until that starts happening, I won't. I'm not putting my money on Mercedes winning that just yet. She will win it, but not yet. So in this match on All Out, I'm going with Toni Storm for the win, maintain the championship. Let the Tony Hogan comparisons rain on in. Screw y'all. Moving on. MJF versus Mark Briscoe, a TNT match, tables and tacks. That's interesting. It's an interesting. It just feels very random. There was a reasoning for TLC. This feels random, and it was presented random because it presented like, Mark Briscoe in the ring, just kind of like, oh yeah, I thought about this. I gotta do something. So maybe a table. So like, and then like, what are the rules? Are table, like we're just saying tables are legal? Are thumbtacks going to be on the tables? But like, I don't know. And it is weird to know like, well, you're gonna have your thumbtack spot. So now is like, is it how creative of thumbtack spots are you doing? I'm not sure. I don't hate the stipulation. I just don't. It just seems random to me, or a way to just say TNT. So I mean, I guess. Um, I feel like Mark Briscoe needs this win because MJF kind of has the upper hand on him thus far, and Mark Briscoe needs a big win. I don't know what you're gonna do with him, but given what this feud is, I think, and I get that MJF has their contract, but with him having the contract, and there being a good chance, especially with how they've done it, that he actually wins it whenever he does cash in the contract. I think they're going to kind of do a WWE thing. It's a WWE thing of, as long as you have this contract, you can suffer other losses. They do it in Money in the Bank all the time. So I think he can stand to take this loss, especially considering all the other stuff he has going on as far as being in AAA, which he'll probably lose that to Mystico. But if it hadn't happened already, actually, because I don't know, but he can suffer this loss and it won't hurt him at all, and it'd be a big thing for Mark Briscoe. And with it being the type of match it is, I think everything just leads up to being a Mark Briscoe win. This is kind of a long-term view that you didn't know you wanted or needed, not because of what it is, but because of how Mark Briscoe has kind of been presented thus far. That he doesn't win a lot. He's been winning more now in the lead up to this, so it kind of is an interesting thing. And as such, I think this win will be one that he needs and will get, and we'll go from there. Put some gold, some AEW gold. I don't know where, I don't know what. We'll put some gold on Mark. Next up, we're gonna go TBS Championship. Mercedes Moné versus Rio. This is actually going to be interesting because somebody brought up a point that I actually kind of agree with, that both of these women are small, and this is a match where both of their offense will make sense against who, like Rio against Nyla Rose was always kind of like, I understood the criticisms of people who said stuff like, it's not believable. It's believable to me because I completely suspend my disbelief, right? But and I only really care about like just how it plays out. I don't get into, like my mama would do that. My mama would be, and that little bit of old girl doing that to that big woman, it'd be like, and I get it. I absolutely understand it. This match with Mercedes is rare because most of Mercedes matches is like she's never like in the powerhouse role. She's never the bigger person in these matches most of the time. Rio being so small, with the criticism for both of them being that their offense doesn't look believable against larger opponents, the fact that both of them now are smaller, both of their offenses are going to look that much better, I believe. So I have high hopes for this match, actually. I think it's going to look different than most Rio matches, different than most Mercedes matches because of that dynamic. So actually, I'm looking very forward to seeing what they can cook up together. That's going to be a huge deal. I am very excited to see that come about. So, but it's Mercedes. She's not losing anytime soon. Great to bring back Rio, but she's not. She's not. She's there for what she's here to do. Because she's not even consistent enough to be TBS champion. I hate to say it that way, but it's true. She hadn't been on TV enough. She's one of those people you forget is with the company. Case in point, Kiera Hogan just got released. I thought she got released. I thought she was done with the company years ago because I haven't seen her since Jade. In the early days of Jade, like not even like towards the end, I don't think. Like it was probably the earlier days of Jade. So I forget about Rio until she shows up. But then she shows up and makes an impact, so it's cool. And I understand the criticisms of people saying, she didn't do anything to earn a champion. I don't care about that. I don't care what she did to earn a match. A lot of people haven't done anything to earn a match that, that it's fine. I get people want to get into the weeds about it. I don't care. I don't care. I don't. And another thing I think I addressed last week that obviously didn't come through with the audio issues. Listen, I'm a fan of certain aspects of Jim Cornette. Okay. I love hearing him talk about old school wrestling, Memphis, obviously. Hearing the historical stories there, the old stories of the stories of WWF, when he was there. Even stories of TNA. Anything historical, I love to hear from Jim Cornette. I love hearing his take on politics because he hates the taco just as much as most of the correct-brained world. When it gets, and I know this is biased, when it gets to, I won't even say AEW now because I was going to say AEW because he hates AEW, but I would say anything modern. I don't really have any interest in seeing what he has to say. I just don't. I understand. Like he hates AEW. I don't even know why he even gives it the time of day, other than just to shit on it, which I think is trash. Because here's the thing: I mentioned I don't really watch I can't. It's harder for me to support this company on so many levels, right? Historic, like I love the history of WWE. I have plenty of DVDs. I I wish the network was still a thing. If the network was still a thing, we probably wouldn't be having half these conversations that I had, right? But Peacock and ESPN ain't getting the vault anytime soon. So the only thing I really like, I love going back and watching older WWE or WWF or WCW or maybe ECW. Eventually, it'll probably be TNA, right? So I'm here for the library, but this current product, I can't get with. And if they move the library, then I'm just gonna be watching on YouTube at best. At best, and I barely watch that. Like I watch WCW on YouTube, which I know still WWE, but you know. So saying all that to say, all of that. I'm sorry, got into a spin. Jim Cornette made a comment about Mercedes, like, "Oh well, you can tell she really loves to wrestle. It just sucks that she's not any good at it. She loves to be out there doing her thing, but she's not any good. She doesn't have any." Let me tell you something. That is the most trash take I may have ever heard. Period. There is no way, no way. You are the one. You are the one person, other than a bunch of internet trolls, who would think that about Mercedes. You could mention her not having great promos. We'll take that because they're not always great. To say she's not great in the ring is insane. She is literally the best of the four horsewomen. Period. It's not Charlotte. It's not Becky. Bailey's cool, but it ain't Bailey. It's Sasha. It always has been Sasha. WWE wants you to believe it's Charlotte. WWE wants you to believe it might be Becky because she's the man. And they have great matches. They do. They have great matches together. But see, WWE built Charlotte off the back of Sasha Banks. Let's not forget that. WWE built everybody pretty much off the back of Sasha Banks. Even as much as I love Bianca, even Bianca. So that is cappery in this appery. Absolutely. That is trash. Listen, I won't even like I said Bianca. There's no Bianca slander tolerated here, period, right? I won't say that necessarily about Sasha / Mercedes. But bro, that is egregious. That's egregious. Egregious. Absolute trash take. I'll move on because whatever. That was trash. Cornette. That was trash. Moving on. Eddie Kingston versus Big Bill. Eddie Kingston is back. I've heard a lot of discourse about this. Why are they bringing Eddie Kingston back this way? So you can put him on the card and book his big return. You need all the fight. For everybody saying like, oh, they need to book. That is it. And they hadn't put him on TV. So you hadn't seen him. You hadn't heard him. So the first time you will see him back will be on All Out. Huge. And in a match against somebody that's huge was going to be a big win because Big Bill has. I hate that it's got to be Big Bill because whatever, but I think that's a perfect position person. It's almost like Oh, Lance, and I can't think of his last name now. Murder Hawk. Murder Hawk. Lance Archer. There you go. It's almost like Lance Archer a little bit, except for Big Bill actually wins because the biggest cap in wrestling is everybody dies. And hey, bro, a whole lot of people living out here. A whole lot of people living. But it's a win for Eddie Kingston off the top. Absolutely. He's not gonna lose his debut, his re-debut, his return match. Absolutely not. And that's gonna be a huge pop for Eddie Kingston. And I think one of the biggest travesties is that Eddie Kingston missed the majority, if not all, of the Death Riders run because when it mattered, because he probably would have been one of the people that people would have clamored for to be the one to beat Mox, and it would have made all the sense in the world. Heyman absolutely worked once we got to it, but if he had been around, people would have been clamoring for it to be Eddie, hands down, easy. So I don't know where we go with Eddie because everything feels a little crowded. Title wise, because I feel like you got to get him back. When he left, he was in title contention. He had like 3 titles. When he left, he was in title contention. So I feel like you kind of got to get him back there, but I don't know who or where that would be. I think out of the main event, you get something, and I don't think he fits in either of those pictures. That I'll get to that in a minute. Okada beat him, and since then that title has, like, again, it's been that long. Like, Okada has defended the title in the C2, unified it with the other championship, the name like international championship, and now it's this unified championship. All that has happened since Eddie's been gone. So, this is a win against Big Bill, but I'm not sure where we go after. Like I said, because I think all the titles are kind of spoken for. Not saying that he even has to win. Like, he may challenge for the TNT. He may even challenge Okada because I don't think they had a rematch. So maybe he would do that. Still don't think he would win. But then, do you want to do that soon? Because whatever title he goes for, I don't think he wins. So do you do it that soon, or do you hold off on it? Questions that need answers. A lot of questions there. So I don't know where we go. Speaking of Okada, next up we have the Unified Championship. Okada as champion taking on Takeshita and Mascara Dorada. It's a win for Okada. I don't know if that's where we end though. He probably pins Dorada instead of Takeshita. Takeshita's on a run, but he's not going to beat him yet. I think Takeshita's going to do some stuff in New Japan. I don't think this is the end of this feud, and I think it probably goes like to Tokyo Dome. Actually, I've heard that theory, and I like it, so I believe it to be true. Somehow they get to the Tokyo Dome. Takeshita might win the IWGP Championship. Full stop, right? And so there's some big things they could do from there if they want to. I don't know if they will, but I think there's some big things they could do there. But this is a win for Okada to me. I don't see him losing that championship anytime soon. I do believe that if he were to lose it, he probably would lose it to Takeshita. Kenny Omega feels like a very high possible as well. And I wouldn't even hate if he just lost it in the C2, honestly. But because it's a new title, so maybe not. Maybe not. But we'll see. So, another match that's gonna slap. Mascara Dorada was doing some stuff on Dynamite this week that's like brain, right? So that match is gonna slap as well. Can't wait. Next up, we're gonna have Hurt Syndicate, of course, against Ricochet versus in the GOA. It should be the Hurt Syndicate, right? Because they haven't like been beaten, but if you really want to run with Ricochet and GOA, I feel like they need that win. GOA was one of the teams that the Hurt Syndicate was willing to lose the titles to. So maybe they really want to do work with them. Maybe they really want to put them over. It's the kind of team that they seem to like because they're kind of the same ilk as they are. So I'm going. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Ricochet, GOA for the win. That's my wild. That's my everything else kind of feels like a lock. That one is up in the air. So that's my pick. Ricochet, Gates of Agony, taking the W, calling it. That's my pick. This has been built up well as well, because of the story arc of Ricochet, and I think that plays into it too. That like so much of this is his revenge. You know, I think they need the win. I think they get the win. Go home math suggests that they do, because Hurt Syndicate was standing tall tonight. Go home math doesn't always work with AEW like it does in WWE a lot of times, but this one I feel like is solid. Tag Team Championship. They kind of brought this out of nowhere. 4-way ladder match. They just, yeah, okay, cool. Let's do it. Brodito versus the Young Bucks versus Jet Speed versus Hechicero and Josh Alexander. Brodito, I think, keeps the title. The only other possible here would be the Bucks, and I think their story doesn't. I won't say doesn't allow, but doesn't need the championships. They got something else going on right now, and those championships to kind of throw that off. So it's Brodito, because Jet Speed isn't going to win it. The Don Callis family, it's not thrown together, but they're not like a team that they're not going to do that. They got enough gold right now, so I don't see that happening. So it's Brodito by a mile. The match is going to be insane. Bucks and ladder matches is crazy. Jet Speed is crazy. Hechicero and Josh Alexander bring a completely different flavor. This match actually had like a lot of different pieces that do different stuff that I think is going to make it that much more exciting. Because like the Bucks are the Bucks. Jet Speed is like a higher, younger, more high flying, different version of the Bucks. But they do different stuff, right? They're not like the same kind of high flying. Mike Bailey has, his martial arts stuff and the kicks and the, that type of thing. Jet is this kind of hybrid deal. Brody King, of course, is straight power, but he moves like a cruiserweight a lot of times. Bandito is just insane. Hechicero is my favorite technical wrestler right now, because some of the stuff he does, he mixes like this weird blend of like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like he is the most creative technical wrestling I've ever seen. Love Hechicero. Love it. Josh Alexander, of course, the walking weapon, he has his skill set. So everybody kind of does something different in this match, and bringing all those styles together into a ladder match, I think is going to be a very interesting mesh of things. But Brodito brings home the win. Speaking of the Bucks, I love what they're doing. Their angle, their story. They won the $500,000 last week, and this week you have basically Nick is just flaunting the money and splurging, and you got Matt trying to rein him in, and like, where is that gonna go? Because they're gonna go back broke. Because they've been. I didn't. The thing funny is, you didn't really think they were broke. You just thought they were out of power and weren't getting the same perks as being the EVPs. because of course that takes a pay bump, right? So all of that's kind of playing in. We're kind of getting into like bum ass Corbin territory, but it's okay. I like where we're going. I like where we're going so far, so I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all. Two more matches, which I think, like I said, the two main events. Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin in a coffin match. This feels like it has to be Darby, right? Mox wins a lot. So I think because he wrestles every week now and because he wins a lot, he can take this L. Darby hadn't had many matches. I think he's had like one besides the cage match. There's been a lot of attacks and fights and brawls and sneak attacks and all of that. I think Darby takes this one. And I don't know what that does for Death Riders afterwards because they've kind of been renewed because of Daniel Garcia. But I think Darby takes this one. If for no other reason, because he hadn't had that many matches. And it would be kind of silly to have him lose here. And again, where do you go from there? Plus, there's this new aspect between him and Daniel and Bryan Danielson, and like him kind of telling Bryan, like, whatever happens, don't get involved in the match. Give me your word. And Bryan said, well, I'll give you my word, but you got to give me your word on something. And then he whispers something to Darby. And we don't know what that thing is. So that leads you to believe that there's something there. There's a there. So I'm leaning towards absolutely Darby and Mox. I'm leaning towards Darby taking the dub there. Absolutely. That is going to be insane. But these two people are thick AF. Okay. Like these are the type of that they have matches that feel like they're going to make me cringe. Because what are we doing? I couldn't watch the ear spot that they did at the cage in the cage. That was I winced. I winced. So I can only imagine. I can only imagine. And with Darby saying stuff like no matter what happens, don't get involved. They're gonna try to Darby is always trying to die. And Mox has no problem trying to kill. That terrifies me. Sorry. That terrifies me. These two people in the ring together terrify me. But Darby gets the dub in the end, I guess. Main event, ISO. For the AEW Men's World Championship. They've been very clear to say that here since Hangman's been champion. Hangman Adam Page versus Kyle Fletcher, who is the TNT champion. Hangman wins, of course. I'm not the hugest fan. I've heard this said as well, and I agree. I'm not the hugest fan of Kyle of them having the TNT champion against the world champion instead of defending the TNT champion, because they have done this the last few champions of had them win the title and then go do other stuff. They had Daniel Garcia win the championship and then he went and did other stuff. He defended it, but like he was in the C2, so he wasn't defending the championship there. He was involved in like a thing like trio stuff and all that, so he barely even defended it. And they're kind of doing the same thing with Kyle. Now Kyle has more of a case for defending the championship, but he's also, I won't say he's the biggest name that you could put there, but you know he's the future. And he kind of is. The story has kind of been, Hangman looks at Kyle and he's like, I see you, and you were in the space that I was in 2019 against Chris Jericho, and I don't think you're ready. And I think that will be the story, right? So I think you do put him in that space because that is what he is. I think this match is for Kyle Fletcher what the match against Chris Jericho was for Hangman at that time. It was saying, this is the guy. He will be the guy. And this is his first foray into that main event. And then you will see him grow from there. I think he'll have not a similar trajectory necessarily, but it will work the same way in that from this match, you'll see him rise to that point. So Hangman wins, definitely wins. I don't question that one bit. But I do think you get a great showing by Kyle Fletcher, and you definitely cement him as main event level, which should elevate the TNT championship as well, because now once you establish that he is main event level and will be the champion one day, I think that title should main event a lot of those collisions on TNT. Because why not? It's the TNT championship. I don't even understand why it wouldn't be. So absolutely think that should be a thing. And that's the card. I think this is going to be an amazing card. And that will be, there are a few matches I didn't mention. The pre-show, there's the tailgate, they're calling it. A few matches on there. They're fairly inconsequential. The Ops versus the Workhorsemen. Of course, the Ops win there. And it's not even all three Ops. It's like Joe and Hobbs versus the Workhorsemen. That's a dub for the Ops. Shibata versus Daniel Garcia is a dub for Daniel Garcia. Of course, Daniel Garcia joined the Death Riders a couple of weeks ago. Another thing I didn't get to talk about because of the sound issue last week. Daniel Garcia has joined the Death Riders. And I'm not sure what that means for anybody else. I don't think they're trying to recruit Stat, and I don't think Stat goes. But Daniel Garcia has turned to the dark side. Eventually, we have to get the Daddy Magic stuff out of the way. He's going to like turn on him or something, I'm sure. Like I said, I don't think Stat goes, but hopefully this is the beginning of a push for Daniel Garcia as well towards, again, because with these people gone, and they're gone for extended periods of time, especially Swerve and Ospreay, they're gone for extended periods of time. You have to start building people up. This perfect opportunity to do that. I think Daniel Garcia may be one of those people. That also makes me wonder about the makeup of the Death Riders going forward. Does that mean somebody's leaving? Are we trimming fat somewhere? Is he taking somebody's spot? Like I said, I don't believe that Stat joins. I do think there's room for Shayna to join. However, Shayna is still kind of, she's not signed to WWE, but like I said, she was on NXT, and apparently she's been helping out kind of as a trainer. But she's not under any contract, so she go and be, teamed up? Because if we're going to do these AEW Women's Championships, without mentioning the next match, Shayna and Marina, hey, okay, tough. So that's an interesting wrinkle. So this is going to be a dub for Daniel Garcia to help solidify his heel turn. Shibata is another person who, he doesn't win a lot, but it doesn't hurt him at all because he's Shibata, right? So there's that with him. And the last match is this like 10-woman tailgate brawl with like all the women who've been feuding for the last 2 months, outside of Tekla and Tony and Stat. So like I don't know who all is in this match. Off the top of my head, it's probably Triangle of Madness, Julia Hart and Sky Blue, Megan Bayne, Penelope Ford, and I'm not even sure who the fifth one would be. Because Tekla's in the women's match. I don't even know who the fifth person is. I can find it, but I'll get back to that. Versus, I know the other side is Willow, Harley, Tajay. You know what? Let me go find it because I don't know either one. Mina. There we go. Oh, they have a name now. And it's not Tajay. Okay. Sorry, I'm reading it now. Had it completely wrong. It's Harley, Mina Shirakawa, Queen Aminata, and Willow Nightingale versus Divine Vanity. Didn't know they had a name. That's Megan Bain and Penelope Ford. Didn't know they had a name. Versus and Triangle of Madness. So I'm assuming I'm out. I'm not even assuming. I know that's going to be the main event because that's the match they've been pushing the hardest. That's going to be the main event of the pre-show. Are we doing this instead of Blood and Guts? Because why aren't we doing Blood and Guts? There hadn't been an announcement for a Blood and Guts match, period, this year. And that's a yearly thing. And it doesn't seem to be announced anywhere. I mean, I guess they wouldn't announce it until it actually is going to happen. But, and again, we've been doing this for so long. Is this the payoff? This doesn't feel like it should be the payoff, right? Some of these people don't even belong, because that's not even, it's like this nebulous thing, right? Mina doesn't fit in there. Now, Harley does. Queen Aminata does, absolutely. But Queen Aminata doesn't fit as much if Tekla isn't in it, because that's where the feud really is. Willow kind of fits, of course. Megan Bain, Penelope Ford, Julia Hart, Sky Blue, and it should be Tekla, is the five from that side. The other five probably should be Harley, Aminata, Willow. I would say Stat and maybe Jamie Hayter, because Tony would probably be tied up in other stuff. Though I know Tony would probably love to do Blood and Guts. So, not sure there. But, I don't know. Again, I don't know if I said this last week or the week before, but I'll say it here. We either need to do these women tag team championships and get that on the go, or we need to or do this Blood and Guts match. And really could do both. But one or the other. One or the other, or both. Do both. Squad to get off the pot. And I'm not mad at this because it's leading to great matches and it's giving the women's division a lot of other stuff to do besides the main event, well, besides the Women's World Championship and besides the TBS Championship. It's giving a lot of other women's stories and a lot of other aspects here. But we got to get to some kind of conclusion because this feels like it's just going in perpetuity. We need a, and I don't think even that the Blood and Guts will be the end, but it feels like this is the thing we're building to. Because if not, it's like it just feels like a bunch of just random tag matches for the sake of tag matches. Give us the big one, the big blow off, and let them cook. I absolutely believe the spectacle of Blood and Guts alone is enough to main event a Dynamite. So, and these feuds are, I think, hot enough to carry it as well. You got Willow in there. Willow's gonna go crazy. Aminata is quickly ascending my list quickly. Okay, once she start picking up some wins, start getting some momentum, and start really getting her groove, I think she's gonna be out of there. But she's quickly climbing my list. Megan Bain is gonna do some crazy stuff. Tekla probably will too. Again, I could understand if you feel like some of the women in this match weren't the most, especially on the heel side, weren't the most polished. Megan Bain is good, but probably still needs a little bit of polish. Penelope Ford, hit or miss. Though she's had some hardcore classics too. Julia Hart, Sky Blue, both really good. Again, tend to be hit or miss sometimes. Harley as well. Mina, Queen Aminata, Willow, and even if you brought Tekla in there, Tekla again seems to be pretty good. I hadn't seen a lot of issues from her, but could be hit or miss. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the holdup is. Get that match done, man. Put that match on. Get us some Blood and Guts, bro. Okay, we ready. It's time. It doesn't have to be Death Riders. We did the lights out unsanctioned thing with Death Riders, so that took care of that. So let's get it popping. Let's get this blood and guts popping with the women. Let's do it. Let's do it. That being said, I'm going. We're almost at a minute and 40. I told you this was gonna be a longer episode. You deserve it because I left you hanging last week. So you deserve it. I hope you hung around this whole time. If you have, thank you so much. If you haven't, I'm not even talking to you because you can't hear me, right? Whatever. That being said, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Talmbout Rasslin right here on the Black Phoenix Network. Again, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Leave some comments. Tell your friends. Tell you know the thing. Tell them. I'm gonna make this one specific. I want to interview some people. Okay, so if you know some independent wrestlers, you know some mainstream wrestlers who just want to duck to a little low key podcast, maybe help a brother out. Huh? 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 Okay. Absolutely would love to interview some people and get these numbers up, right? You're tuning in for that. So if you know anybody, you know any independent wrestlers who want to be interviewed, who are looking to broaden their fan base, feel free, send them my way. I would love to interview anybody. If you're a wrestling fan, if you want to co-host on the show, you want to fill in, like pop in and hey, look, I am open, and I'll probably regret that in the end. But for the time being, you want to pop in on the show, feel free. If you want to co-host, if you want whatever, like I'm wide open. Okay, we're trying to grow this platform as much as possible, get these views up, get these subscribers up, and pretty much, I love discussing wrestling. And as much as I love discussing it by myself to you all, I would love to discuss it with you all. So if you would love to be a part of the show, feel free. Again, make sure you leave some comments because I need all the engagement I can get. The views are great. The watches are great. The likes even are great. But I want to get these subscribers up. I want to get these views up. And I want to get the engagement up. I want to make sure, because as much as I love talking to you all, I want you to talk back to me, right? So make sure you leave a comment or comments if you got anything that you would like for me to cover. If you have any opinions about what I've talked about, if you have any opinions on WWE and what they're doing with the Saudi stuff and their ticket prices, or maybe you want to talk NXT, maybe you want to reminisce about Black and Gold NXT when it was great, right? Maybe you want to talk about AEW All Out. If you're looking forward to WrestlePalooza, that's fine too. Whatever it is, leave a comment. Let's get some engagement going. I love hearing from you guys. I would love to hear from you guys, I should say, because I hadn't heard that much. But would love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, make sure you check out my other content here on the Black Phoenix Network. Manifesto Mondays. The season finale is coming up this Monday. The season finale of season 1 will be coming up this Monday. Tune in for that. What's Up Wednesdays every Wednesday, where I will drop an article discussing anything. These last couple have been political. I did one on wrestling. I did do one on wrestling when I talked about 2019 and the debut of AEW Dynamite and the week that broke me as a WWE fan with Kofi Kingston versus Brock and The Fiend versus Seth Rollins. If you were there, you know what I'm talking about. But the other ones have been a little political. I'll do something different next week, even though the world is crazy right now. We'll focus on something a little different. It may even be a wrestling one. Who knows? Because again, just because it's What's Up Wednesday does not mean that we can't talk about wrestling there too. So, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you check out all that other stuff. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment. And again, as we always do at this time, I am your host, the untouchable J.R. Atkins. You see it. And I am your host. And this is your primary destination for wrestling conversation. This is Talmbout Rasslin right here on the Black Phoenix Network. Thank you all. Until next time, we are